Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, devotees, for joining today. So the topic today is surrender, and then we know from the nectar of instruction, surrender has got 6 aspects. One is having 6 limbs, you can say. One of the first limbs is accepting things which are favorable for practicing Krishna consciousness. The second one is to reject things which are unfavorable towards Krishna consciousness. And then accepting Krishna as the maintainer, as the supreme protector, as the controller. And 6, the last limb, is humility. Without humility, there is no question of surrender. So this is the broad, usually accepted limbs of the surrender. But what I'm planning to do today is going through this book called Surrender: The Key to Eternal Life by His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Maharaj. It's really, really beautiful. It is his take on these 6 limbs and how he explains it. It's really, really wonderful. So I wanted to just touch upon this. And before that, when I think in the morning there was a question as to what are the things which are favorable to for devotional service and what are the things which are unfavorable, right? So I just thought I'll first read that and then we'll enter this book called Surrender. So one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes entangled in the 6 following activities: eating more than that's necessary or collecting more funds than required, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness and being greedy for mundane achievements. So these are the things which will bring down our bhakti, which will spoil it. So these need to be avoided. These are the 6 points. And then we have the 6 other principles which are very favorable for pure devotional service execution. First one being really enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna. And the 5th one is abandoning the association of non-devotees. You can see that this 5th point it's quite similar for both of them. You're avoiding worldly minded persons who are not interested. For by associating with them, you will spoil your bhakti, and by abandoning such kind of an association, it'll become very favorable for you to execute your devotional service, your devotional service. And the last one is following the footsteps of our previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So this is what is usually accepted as the first 2 limbs of surrender. Now, entering this book called Surrender by Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, the first chapter deals with humility. Humility with determination guaranteed success. So we are the first story that Maharaj speaks about is a sparrow story. It comes in the Bhagavad Gita also. Srila Prabhupada has mentioned of how a small sparrow, the eggs were taken away by the ocean. And the sparrow, with so much of determination, she'll ask the ocean god to return back the eggs. And then the ocean refuses. So then she'll say, I will, empty you up and then, retrieve my eggs. With so much of determination, this little sparrow will endeavor. And seeing the endeavoring little sparrow, Garuda will have so much of compassion and then he will come and ask. And then the ocean god will immediately give back the eggs of the sparrow. So likewise, when we are having so much of determination and focus, one single pointed focus and attention towards our spiritual goals or our spiritual path, right, then it is very much possible to attain success. Again, we need to have the mercy of the Vaishnavas and Guru with their blessings along with our determination. So we are putting our effort and then, waiting for their mercy to happen. Then only success will happen. So determination is extremely important. So in this case, the story has been explained. And then when the person is so engaged and being so determined, what happens is Krishna himself gives us the buddhi, which called Tesham Satata Yuktanam Vachitam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Kyena Mama Priyantate. It means that one who is constantly endeavoring and who is devoted to serving me with love and devotion, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna opens different channels, sends people in, gives us scriptures for us to understand exactly what we need to do. Every person, there is a curated, Krishna curated, chart which is given to them, a plan, so that just by following those words, following those instructions which are specific for that person's, for that individual, right, their devotional service or their devotional path, their life towards Krishna can be really, it will propel. It's just that we need to be open. When that, when our heart is open, then we can receive. So that's where humility comes in. Determination, and then this particular verse you need to remember, it's Priti Purvakam. That means you are endeavoring with love. Where there is love and devotion, when that consciousness is filled with love and devotion, with that kind of an, bhava, you are trying to serve Krishna, then he will reciprocate and give you this intelligence to come to me. In Naimisharanya forest also, all these sages were sitting, and then they were very much determined to understand what is the essence. The essence is pure devotional service. And then Sutta Goswami came, and then he narrated the whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sutta Goswami had heard it in that assembly where Parikshit Maharaj was, where he heard the whole story from Sukadev Goswami. So Sutta Goswami will come and then give this entire information to the Naimisharanya forest sages. And these sages are like, different levels. Some are karma yogis, some are jnana yogis, some are like worshippers of Lord Shiva. They're like different, the amalgamation of the sages present that they were like so different, but then they had that single pointed determination to understand what is the essence of all the scriptures. And then they got it. Savaipam suparo dharmo yato bhakti atokshaje ahayutaki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So when we are doing a devotional service, and this devotional service should be like continuous, without any motivation, then only it will make us happy. Us means the soul happy. So this is the essence. And then that day they all received it. Why? Because they were so much having the determination to understand what is the essence of the scriptures. Again, we need to understand, as conditioned souls in this material world, this material world itself is like a mental hospital where everybody is like having different various symptoms of the disease, which is material absorption. And the so materially absorbed, the more crazier the person is, they're not able to understand that they have this disease. A little bit same person, when they go through difficulties, they approach the right people to ask, why am I suffering and how to get out of it. Those who are so much illusioned by these modes, and then they're so covered, it's very difficult for them to understand that they are going through this, the waves of this ocean. They're just tossing them up and down, and then they don't know because they don't have a shelter. But then when we have the shelter, which is the devotees, when we have the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, by having the determination and hanging on to it, right, we can raise above all the problems. Again, this determination sometimes waxes and wanes, like how we were speaking in the Anartha Nivriti series. There is this 6 symptoms in Anartha Nivriti. One of the second symptom is waxing and waning. It's a thickness and thin. Sometimes it's very thick, our determination is very strong, and sometimes our determination kind of wanes. So again, that's just one of the phases which we are going through in Anartha Nivriti. Once the whole Anartha Nivriti gets done, we come to Nishta, where the determination is very strong. It doesn't wax and wane, it's very steady. Just like when honey is poured, right? It just, there is a single flow. There's the thickness is maintained, and then it's beautiful. It just doesn't keep on dripping, or it doesn't keep breaking when we are dropping. That kind of thickness or that kind of steadiness is present once the Anartha Nivriti is completed in a person's life. But when we are going through this Anartha Nivriti series, Anartha Nivriti phase, it's very, it's time consuming. It takes a lot. Sometimes it takes many lifetimes. But again, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj is told that if we having that strong determination, when the right association, by putting our effort correctly, waiting for Krishna's mercy, then it can be completed within one lifetime, unearth and everything. So we need to again focus on being really determined. Determination is important. So the second part of this particular first chapter is humility. When we don't have humility, the advancement of a person is seen. How much of humility the person has. This is a symptom of the advancement. When there is no humility, the first thing the person will do, or a conditioned soul will do, is to see faults. Fault finding naturally happens when they're not able to see, when the person does not have humility. Why? Because the first thing that happens is they are so much absorbed in thinking that they are this body. So the false ego is present, which is identifying the person as this body. And then once that false ego is there, they're thinking, and then envy comes as a a byproduct of false ego. Brahma first creates the false ego. So once, otherwise we can never, as a pure spirit soul, we'll never get this, we'll never be able to enjoy that, this particular world is meant for our enjoyment. We'll never get that idea if we don't have this false ego covering. So he gives us this false ego covering even before we get the body. It's the, one of the subtler coverings. So with that comes envy. Envy is just, again, factored in with our false ego. Envy means Matsarya. Srila Prabhupada says Matsarya means we are thinking that we are better than the other person. So when that mentality is present, then naturally there is fault finding, because we think we are better and then we know what is right, what is wrong. Our conceptions are right. We think we are the center of the universe and everything should, be arranged the way we think. Everything should be, we try to manipulate, we try to change and take charge and control. Everything happens because we are keeping ourselves in the center. And then from this particular aspect, there comes this fault finding. So when there is humility, we realize we are like nothing. We're very insignificant. We're dependent on the Lord. We belong to the Lord. We are His servant. This kind of consciousness is present when there is humility. So without having the symptom of humility, there is naturally fault finding. And then fault finding will even glide down to blaspheming the devotees. Then it's very, very detrimental. One of the offenses to chanting of the pure holy names is blaspheming the devotees of the Lord. That means finding things in them which are not even present, finding bad things in them, and verbally saying it, trying to kill the devotee, or having envious feeling, malice in our heart, and being angry towards the devotee, not greeting the devotee when we meet the devotee, not feeling joy when we see them. These are all the 6 factors of what it really means to blaspheme a devotee. So this is also going to happen when there is no humility which is present in the heart. When there is humility, we are focused inward. We are thinking, oh my God, there is so much of anarthas in me. There's so much of faults in me which I need to fix. My life is meant as a service to the Lord. These anarthas are blocking me from coming closer to Krishna. So I need to focus on removing these anarthas. So this is the mentality of a person who is humble. So we can judge and ask ourselves the question, do we have humility? Otherwise, based on our actions or whatever I've just now spoken, we can understand that if any of these symptoms are present, we are lacking in humility. And then only then, when we start developing humility, can we get over the symptoms of fault finding and blasphemy. This is very much required. Again, humility is one of the 6 factors of surrender, extremely, extremely important to develop in our life. And all these coverings and all these different anarthas that we were speaking about, right? These are just covering of the pure spirit soul. So when these coverings, when we're identifying with this enviousness or being greedy or being lusty or being jealous, all these are like coverings. When we identify with them, right, our mind also gives us a lot of problem and tensions and dissatisfaction. But then we need to realize when none of these coverings, we are the pure spirit soul. Again, humility is what will help us to uncover, all these coverings will be taken away with the help of humility. And that humility sprouts in our heart, all these coverings will come away. and then that pure self, which is pure spirit soul, which is pure, that will shine. So that our real nature, which is very similar to Krishna, that can come out. Suffering, and then over here in this material world, people are like generally most people are very very happy. They are fine. All these miseries that are present, they're finding it very very pleasurable. Even Lord Indra, when Brahma like cursed him, and then he because he was sorry, not Brahma, Brihaspati, his spiritual master, he cursed Brahma, Indra, and then Brihaspati said, Indra, you have to become a pig because he had made an offense. And initially, it was very very bad situation, and Indra kind of refused, but then he had to take it because it was cursed from his own spiritual master. And then after some time, when the time passes, right, Lord Brahma will come and to take him back to the heaven, and then he'll say, Indra, you're the king of the heavens, please come back. And Indra is so happy being in that pig's body. He's enjoying his big life with the big wife and then the children, and he's so absorbed, he's finding it so pleasurable. Indra says, in that big body, he'll tell to Lord Brahma, why are you interfering? I'm enjoying. So this is the kind of absorption of even a great soul like Indra. This is the same way that all conditioned souls in the material world are also facing. Again, so much of identification with this bodily conception. So that's why the more we kind of understand what predicament we are in, and then hearing these kind of stories from the Shastras of great soul also going through it, right? It brings us an awareness. Unless we recognize and become aware of what we are in, it is very difficult to come out of it, right? So real, and also one of the symptoms of understanding that there is real humility which is present means there is no concept of friends and enemies. Prahlad Maharaj also teaches us that same thing. There's no friends and enemies. This is our own, perception, but in reality, it doesn't exist. So real humility also means the same thing. So there might be somebody who's acting adverse towards us, but yet we don't have to treat them as our enemy. We treat them with love and compassion, with truthfulness, and that from at least from our side, we are not having that kind of a conception, even though they might be feeling and they might be treating us like that. That's what Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj writes. Very beautiful. Real humility means no enemies. It's very very beautiful, very powerful way. All his writings are like very very special. It's very intense, but then this is reality. This is his realizations, which he's just poured on after his intense sadhana. And he used to like go out in the woods in Gitanagri, and then he used to pray and pray and pray and beg for mercy. And from that, these kind of intense prayers, he was getting realizations. Those realizations is what Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has written and penned down over here in the writings. So that's why, as we are going through it, sometimes some of these concepts we might have not heard in this way. Like I've never heard that humility means there is no friends and enemies concept. That I've just heard as a part of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. But then Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj says real humility means this is a symptom. There is no friends, no enemies. We are understanding that we are all spirit souls and we treat them like that. Our heart, he says that that's the way the heart can be kept really clean, right? And then a person who possesses true spiritual strength, and he feels very humbled even when he's faced with criticism, right? We can see in the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even when Ramachandra Puri, he will criticize him, right? He'll say, what is this? I'm seeing ants crawling. You must be eating a lot. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, okay, he'll half his, food intake, prasadam intake from the next day. And again, when he's eating less, Ramachandra Puri comes again and he says, oh, what is this? This is just a false renunciation. You are just acting like as you're eating less. And this is just false renunciation. I don't think so. It's from your heart. So then again, what he will do, he'll just accept it. So when the person has got humility, there is so much of strength to accept any kind of criticism from the outside world. They're not moved by it. They just accepted that this is Krishna's way of teaching me. But again, it's not like allowing yourself to be like beaten down, beaten up, or it's not like that. You're not giving yourself to become like a victim or like some allowing an abuser to enable them to abuse you. It's not like that. But then it is some true strength which is coming, it's from the soul platform. Real humility is from the soul platform. It is not something which is like pretense. It's not like a pretense. And I hope you're able to understand that. So this is the way humility really helps in surrendering process towards Krishna. Also, envy increases our false ego. Maharaj writes that when a person is really liberated, right, they do not feel envious, and also there is not this sense of proprietorship. Proprietorship comes from this concept of I and mine. This is me, so everything which comes from my body is mine. So this whole concept of proprietorship is again stemming from false ego. So when both this false ego and this enviousness is, absent, then we can say that person has come to the Brahmabhuta state or that liberated platform. And it's from this kind of a platform that we can actually perform pure bhakti. Pure bhakti starts from there. The platform or the gateway to really, heartfully perform bhakti comes there. Till now, what we are doing is sadhana bhakti, means we're just practicing what is real, bhakti. But that feeling of really engaging in selfless, service to the Supreme Lord comes from the liberated platform, which means there is no envy and there is no proprietorship. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita again, Adveshta Sarva Bhutana Maitra Karna Evacha Nirmamo Nirankara Samadukka Sakakshami Santushta Satatam Yogi Yatma Dridha Nisjaya Mayi Arpita Mano Bhatir Yomad Bhakta Same Priyaham. This is the 12th chapter in which he starts off saying all the characteristics of a person who's very dear to him. The first thing he says is the person is non-envious and he's a friend to all, exactly like how we were just discussing. And then second one is there is no proprietorship of I and mine. There is no false ego. The person is very tolerant and very happy, even in a situation of being very, where it's very pleasant or when it's unpleasant, still the person is very tolerant. The person's senses are completely controlled. The person is self-satisfied. And also, devotional service this person is doing with a lot of determination. The mind intelligence is fixed upon me. Such a person is very dear to me. This is Krishna's words. So we can see from this, if we want to become dear to Krishna, these are the characteristics which we need to really develop. These characteristics will come just as a byproduct of performing bhakti. But yet, when we endeavor to do them so that Krishna is pleased, Krishna is, he'll decorate us with these qualities, and he'll also feel happy that when we are endeavoring. These spiritual qualities they cannot just manifest by themselves, but then when we are endeavoring, it is Krishna who decorates us with these qualities. So our intention should be that I want these qualities to please you, Krishna. So when we have that clarity in thought, then it's very easy for us to become a fit instrument so that Krishna can decorate us with these beautiful qualities. Again, when we think about some people, like Maharaj writes, when we think about others in a very non-envious way, what can we do? We can think about glorifying their good qualities. We can try to emulate them, and we can also ask others for their blessings. And now there are two things. When we see somebody with some good qualities, what do? We can try to think of them as a great example to emulate, or we can think, if we are envious, we want to just eliminate them. So the second part means we're showing enviousness, and the first part, that means we're feeling very inspired. We want to emulate, and then we're feeling inspiration from them. So this is a better way to go. So actually, envy means a false kind of an appreciation. We are appreciating these qualities which is given by Krishna to them, and then we are feeling not okay with it because we want to usurp Krishna's position too. That's the reason why we have these material bodies and why we are here in this material world. We don't want Krishna to be the enjoyer. We want to be the enjoyer. We want to take away Krishna's position. So that's the reason why, as long as envy is present, we will not be able to enter the spiritual realm or the anti-material realm. It is impossible. Envy has to be given away. So again, the more we are conscious of our thought process, what the mind thinks when somebody is praised, are we able to? Our peers are praised. How are we thinking? What is the thought process? What's the mind saying? Is the mind refusing, or the mind is saying no? That means we can say that there's a lot of envy which is present in our heart. right? And so this is the way to gauge how we are doing. And then there's another easiest solution, which Maharaj says, is just try to glorify them. It's very hard to glorify somebody who we are envious of. So the more we try to do it, then it just goes away. It loses its power. And also understanding that it's Krishna who's decorated them with those beautiful qualities. When we are again connecting those qualities with Krishna, right, then there is so much. Then there's more acceptance. There is, there's envy or jealousy or whatever. Those feelings will kind of dissipate or go away. And the difference between envy and jealousy is that a person who is jealous, they just want those particular qualities. A person who's envious, they don't even want the other person to have those qualities, and they want to just eliminate the person. So just imagine, enviousness quality is much more dangerous than just the normal jealousiness. So we need to be again very, very aware what happens in our mind when somebody is praised, or when somebody is doing beautiful deity decoration, or when somebody is cooking very nicely bhoga for the Lord. What kind of thoughts are we, feeling? And when we kind of feel envious, we are disempowering them. We are giving them a subtle indication that please, don't cook well, don't dress well, don't serve well. This is the kind of subtle indications that we are sending to them when we are showing that enviousness kind of a feeling, right, in the air. This is the message that the other person gets. So it is very disempowering. We are telling them not to do great service for Guru and Krishna. So this is not the right way to go, right? So we need to understand that. And again, when somebody is showing, um, and they are showing enviousness towards us, this is the same way that we are feeling. We're feeling like, okay, we should not do the best so that we are not target of this person's envy, right? So this is the way the whole atmosphere just gets degraded. Instead of feeling enthused, the Vaikuntha mentality is the other person's service is praised and encouraged because Krishna is pleased. Because the Vaikuntha Vasis or the Vrajvasis, they are very happy to see Krishna happy. If Krishna is happy, they're all very, very, what do you say, pleased. I'm sorry, I'm just going on getting these messages. It's getting distracting. Yeah. So they're very happy when they see Krishna pleased. So this is the Vaikuntha mentality. But here in the material realm, it's not like that. It's just the opposite. So when we can understand, if we really have love for Krishna, when somebody is doing nice service, we'll encourage them, right? So that should be our mentality. Krishna also gave this entire knowledge to Arjuna. Why? Because he was his dear friend. And then he says, Arjuna, you're non-envious. That's the main reason why I'm giving this knowledge or revealing this knowledge to you. So envy person, when they lack envy in their heart, what happens is it's very easy for them to understand the scripture. It's very easy for them to apply the whatever learnings that they're learning from the scriptures. Knowledge is one thing, but then to be able to abide by the instructions given in scriptures, that is possible only for a person who has no envy in their heart. So this is a very important point. Even the second verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Nirmat Sararam Satam. So that means only this Srimad Bhagavatam can be understood by a non-envious person. But then when we are reading, we are thinking, oh, we're able to read. We still have envy in our heart. How is it possible? But then we can ask ourselves, are we able to abide by those instructions? Then we can see ourselves, at least I can say for myself, I'm not able to abide by all the instructions. Why? Because there is envy in my heart. So when envy in my heart is, it's eliminated, only then will I come to the platform of being able to follow the instructions in the heart. Again, Krishna, to just get this humility in our heart, in the heart of a sadhaka, what he does is he tries to give these instructions in different ways. Still, when we refuse and we're very stubborn to receive these instructions, what happens is Krishna gives us tough love. Tough love is a situation where he forces us to become very humble because the circumstance is so overwhelming, right? He puts us in a situation where it's very frustrating, very, very difficult. We do not have any control of the environment, of the people, of relationships, or of our own emotions. So this kind of situation, when we get in, we can realize that this is Krishna's arrangement. This is tough love. Since we are not being very submissive, We're not able to open up and accept what he's giving us tough love. When a parent realizes that the child is not understanding, listening, and following properly, what happens? The parent also chastises. This is exactly what how Krishna deals. Krishna also sends us tough love when we are being very stubborn and we are acting like we can solve everything without being humble, without understanding our insignificance and understanding that we are really dependent on him. So he makes us understand this, but making this kind of situations in our life, it's very difficult. But then this is a sweet reciprocation. Again, we need to see Krishna is very kind. He's so loving. He can just allow us to say, okay, you're being stubborn, just go away, continue to suffer, and then be there lifetimes after lifetimes, just suffering away from me. Otherwise, he can just give us this tough love, and then we just humble ourselves, and then we come to him, fall at his feet, and say, I'm so sorry, Krishna. So like that, we are hastening our journey back to him. So like that, we can just see there's so much of love in Krishna and everything that he does. Once we come to this path of devotional service, Krishna is there. He's making everything possible. It's just that we need to see it in the right perspective. That perspective is given again by Vaishnavas, elevated Vaishnavas. They can show that everything is happening and it is Krishna's kindness only upon us. Krishna will empower if we are open. When a particular soul tries to see that this is not working, Krishna will empower us, and he will help us to even help others also. Again, it's just a matter of how our consciousness is aligned, how we are open to Krishna's mercy coming in. And the last part in this first chapter of humility with determination guarantees success is workaholism does not signify advancement. So we see sometimes people are doing a lot of service, they're endeavoring a lot, but yet without bhakti, there is no meaning to that kind of intense endeavor. This is what Maharaj says. We can continue to chant many, many lifetimes and still not reach the goal. So it's the cultivation of the right consciousness, which is very, very important. It is not just a lot of things which has to be achieved, like a lot number of rounds or reading a lot of scriptures, listening to a lot of classes. It's not about that. It's a question of, is the right consciousness present? Is there bhakti in the heart, in the consciousness? What is there in the consciousness? Are we thinking that we're the enjoyer, we are doing everything so that, in that dwarfship mentality are we doing? Or are we doing it out of bhakti? So this question we need to ask. If it's just mere work, then it's not the right way to go. So instead, advancement is measured by the degree to which we are devoid of false ego. Once we are void of all these anarthas or undesirable personal qualities and attachment, what is left? Our pure state. So this is what we need to really come to. Unless we come to this, right, it becomes very, very difficult to experience true humility, and it'll not, please Krishna. But then we need to become at least aware, right? First is recognizing where we are, and then regretting that, oh my God, this is how pathetic. It's been so, for so many years. And then coming back to, okay, what are the steps? What are the baby steps that I can take? Steps which are sustainable. For our stage, what is sustainable, we need to accept it and then keep at that, maintain that particular step. So like this, we can come towards a more progressive nature in our spiritual life. Now we are entering chapter 2, which is one who is envious cannot advance. Again, Maharaj speaks a lot about envy, Bhaktitirtha Maharaj. So, as I've mentioned before, Srila Prabhupada also says, envy is one of the greatest problems for a conditioned soul. We want to be the enjoyers. This is the mentality. We've come here to enjoy, basically, right? So it's very hard to give up. We've come here to enjoy. We want to enjoy separately from Krishna. So this very desire to be enjoying separately from Krishna has kept us over here. And it'll always keep us here forever if we do not correct this mentality. We want to free ourselves from that initial disease of enviousness towards Krishna, which inevitably manifests in our daily relationships. In the spiritual world, enviousness is conspicuous by its absence. Conversely, the most significant aspect of the material world is pervasive jealousy and discontent, right? So demons also want all of the opulences of the Lord, but then without recognizing his supremacy. So every time we want to enjoy without Krishna, we can definitely understand that it's just a demonic mentality we are exhibiting, because that's exactly a demon. That's what they do. They want to enjoy the kingdom of the Lord, kingdom of Krishna without Krishna. So each time we are trying to enjoy independently of Krishna, we can say that this is demonic mentality. Krishna is the only enjoyer. Bhaktaram Yakna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. This is present. This verse is given in the Gita saying that he is the supreme enjoyer, and all the worlds are under him. So when we understand it, then only we'll get that supreme satisfaction or peace. But when we do not have it, then it'll be, we'll have to suffer. Srila Prabhupada also encountered a lot of envy when he was doing his preaching. When he used to sit on the Vyasasana, right, in America when he had come, a lot of people thought, like, why are we sitting on such a big Vyasasana and we are all sitting down? They could not understand that Prabhupada was such an elevated soul. He had come here. He was a liberated soul. He is in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, coming here just to elevate all the souls. Right? They could not understand it, and because they could not appreciate him, they could not hear what the words, the instructions which Srila Prabhupada was giving. They are not able to hear it or accept it within the heart, and as such, they were bereft of advancement in spiritual life just because of having this enviousness towards a great spiritual personality like Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is so merciful, and then they missed it out. Why? Because there was envy, just like how Duryodhana had. Duryodhana also had envy towards Krishna. Krishna is right in front of him. In fact, Krishna even showed a partial universal form to Duryodhana in the assembly when he came to beg for a little bit of land for the Pandavas, calling a peace treaty. He had come, and then Duryodhana could not understand. He just thought like Krishna is like a mystic, and then he's just showing me all this to just bewilder me. Why? Because there is envy in the heart. You cannot see what is spiritual, cannot be seen when there is envy to your devotees. So this is what even Prabhupada faced. And then some devotees said, oh, but they all thought like devotees are like, on the road begging and all that. And then suddenly they saw Prabhupada going in the Rolls Royce, a very fun, a nice car. And then they were like feeling, these reporters were feeling like, what is this, Prabhupada, you're going in such a wonderful car. And then Prabhupada said, oh, I can, for a spiritual personality, like a guru can be treated as good as God. And then he was like kind of teasing them and saying, the car used at the airport was not sufficient. It should have been a car made of gold. So he was just trying to taunt the reporter, saying that, so what, even whatever they got, the best of the cars is nothing. Even if the car is made of gold also, I can still accept it, because for them, they are just treating me as good as God, because that's the worship that the disciples are offering to the spiritual master, and it's completely fine. It's just the mentality. Are we using it as service, or are we using it as that we are the enjoyer? Prabhupada was just using it as service. He never even mind. He never took it into heart like, oh, this is this car or that car. He never thought about it. He was just service oriented. He always thought about Krishna in his heart. That is Prabhupada. And once when there's Vyas Puja happening and Prabhupada was sitting, and then he was accepting all the arti and everything, again people were envious. And then Prabhupada, without so much of humility, he said that, I'm not perfect. That's what Prabhupada said. But it's only because I'm carrying the perfect knowledge within the bona fide disciplic succession. That's the reason why I'm able to accept all this homage on behalf of the Lord. So this is Prabhupada's words. This is the way he kind of tried to, this is the way he was trying to pacify those who were envious in the assembly. Then we can also see, one more thing is how envy means the greatest assault on the other person. It's one of the greatest violence that we can perform or do on the other person. Every person who has this human body, remember, there is envy still in the heart. That's the reason why we have these human bodies. So whenever this kind of a thought arises, we can understand this. It is the greatest form of violence. This is what His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj writes. It impedes the well-being of another, and then it has to be given away. Hiranyakashipu also, he envied his own son Prahlad. He was just because he was a pure devotee of the Lord, and he did not even mind to just finish him off. This is what envy does. His own father was ready to kill the child. So very, very dangerous. And exactly like how even in the scriptures, Daksha is also a personification of envy, because he was envying Lord Shiva, who's so kind, who's so merciful, even to the pretas and ghosts and all. He's just giving his associations that they get elevated. But Daksha was just seeing in a very wrong sense it, because he thought that he's greater than Lord Shiva because Shiva is the son-in-law. He never understood that Shiva is one of the greatest Vaishnavas, and he's not even a Jiva Tattva. Daksha was not able to understand that, so the envy again blocked him. And what happened? Daksha was destroyed. He was an embodiment of envy, for he unnecessarily blasphemed the great personality, Lord Shiva. So again, we can see from the scriptures how dangerous envy is. Now we'll talk about how envy amongst the Vaishnavas and how that plays out. Being envious is one of the greatest anarthas because it sabotages the entire environment. Feeling envy communicates to the other subtle messages of disempowerment, right? So whenever we are, the three types of Vaishnavas, right? One is Uttamadhikari, one is the Madhyama, and then the other one is the Kanishta. But then different people are at different levels. When we are meeting a Vaishnava who's more elevated than us, what should we do? We should respect them and then take instructions from them and serve them. That is the correct etiquette, right? But then instead of that, if you start feeling envious towards them, then there is no much advancement or spiritual progress that can ever happen, correct? So this is how to go beyond envious nature. Again, relating to juniors now. This is the one is those devotees who are higher than us, and now this is juniors, those who are lower than us. How do we deal with them? There are three types of ways that we can deal with juniors. One is just to keep them in that level, so that we can always be, above them, thinking that why should we assist them? If we assist them, probably they'll come up. So we should not do that. We'll just feel like, we'll not show any much inclination or compassion towards them. Just keep them there. Second one is being like a real teacher, helping them, just like how a teacher teaches a child to write and, learn. We also help them so that they come up in their devotional service, and then teach them all the ways. This is what the second approach. Third approach, which is just so amazing and heart touching, is the Vaishnava being the servant of the servant. He will even go to any extent to push this junior devotee to such an extent that this person, he will take all kind of risk, jeopardizing his own position. This is the way of a real Vaishnava. His heart is like that. This is what they will do. So basically, His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Maharaj is saying that our heart should be so soft. Our heart should be so soft that we don't mind doing service, even for those who are juniors. We're not, seeing that we are doing so much of sacrifice. I mean, this position I can just think about, like Guru Maharaj's, how they don't mind, going through so much of pain and so much of travel, so much of sacrifice, so much of be it their sleeps, be it their, prasadam intake, being so many things, just so that they are there for their disciples to help them, to enlighten them with the knowledge, the correct spiritual knowledge, and alleviate their sufferings. This is how great spiritual teachers have done throughout the history of mankind. And this is exactly what Bhaktivedanta Maharaj is trying to say, that they will risk anything to help another. So those who are lower, the juniors, this is the third approach which a Vaishnava can do, which is very, very pleasing to Krishna. That's what he says. Krishna's heart melts when he sees when a person goes to such an extent. But then when a person has envy, what they will think is only about me, me, me. There is no place for you. If there is a little bit of place for you, it's only so that I can only do so much as that, my position is not compromised, or I'm not going to such a, a difficult position, or I need to sacrifice. When there is no sacrifice, then I'm okay. I can do a little bit, only that much only they will do. This is a person who has envy in the heart. That's what they will do. And basically, they will sometimes do also in a very condescending manner, looking down at those juniors. This doesn't please Krishna. This is not surrender. Surrender means it's done in a very genuine, authentic way. Krishna is pleased when a person makes conscientious sacrifices without being foolish, right? And the person is giving Krishna to his juniors, um, whatever they have received. So there is so much of deep compassion when they are dealing with juniors, knowing that they will also like that one day. And then there was somebody else who was elevated Vaishnava who pulled them to the place where they are today, right? And the third is dealing with those who are equals. A Vaishnava never thinks that he's equal to another Vaishnava. Even when there is a relationship at the level of friendship, this is a way of thinking of a true Vaishnava. What normally happens is, like, people, when two friends come together, they want to brag about each other, and then they want to focus all their attention on themselves. It's like either the person is saying something, they're one-upping and saying a story better than theirs, or just bragging about their own selves, about the whole attention is basically me. They wanted to capture even that that sound space also, like it's only about themselves. They just go on and on. But then when there is really dealing with equals, what should be done is, like, there is genuineness. It's not like a demonic consciousness of wanting to hijack the opulences of Krishna. That's not what's done. But then there is there is no unhealthy competition. But then there is this feeling of giving a space to the other person where they can genuinely open, share, and ask advice, and get that Guyama Kyati Prachati, like exactly what we are trying to practice in the mornings. That's exactly what happens. So this sense of I am the enjoyer is present, is absent over there. And then a space where nice discussion about Krishna can happen is provided. So this is how one should actually deal when we are dealing with those who are equal to us. Envy also means violence, which we've already covered. This is the last part. And then again, the second chapter, it ends with introspection is very, very vital. So Meyer says that let us constantly introspect where we are each day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, end of the year, or a couple of years, how we've been thinking. Has there been any change? Or are we just stagnating? Or as our thought process just always been the same, and then certain situations unfold, certain situations keep happening again and again, and then is our reaction the same to these kind of situations, or these people when they kind of hurt us, trouble us? Is there any change, or is it the same way that we keep dealing? If you're doing it the same way, that means just understand we are just not progressing, right? So when there is more compassion which is present in the heart, when there is more humility, when there is no envy, the way these external disturbances, which when they're present, right, they will not disturb us. And at the same time, our the way we react to them will also be very different. It'll be from a very mature place, from which we will be able to respond to it. Basically, we will not react to them, but then we will respond very maturely, by not getting disturbed. Our faith will not be disturbed. Our bhakti practices will not be disturbed. But yet, we will communicate and communicate to them in a way which was appropriate. This kind of realization, again, Krishna will give it to us. Krishna will give this kind of realization when we are very sincere. This is the way second chapter ends. And then moving on to third chapter, which is loving our neighbors more than ourselves. This is something which is present in all the scriptures, holy scriptures, like either the Bible or the Quran. They all say that, we should be treating our neighbors with a lot of love. We should love them and respect them more than ourselves. So how do we do that? This can happen only when we break free from materialism. Things don't make us happy. So this we already know. But then because of peer pressure, because of the advertising, advertising and sponsoring things which keeps going on in the internet and all that, right? That we are just bombarded constantly with these kind of things, making us feel that material things are very important. But then ultimately we realize that this materialistic environment will not make us happy. Teenagers are born and brought up in this kind of environment. How difficult it is for them. So the more our younger generation has been really harassed with these kind of things in the internet or outside, billboard, everywhere, right? So it's more difficult for them to continue in spiritual life. This is what Maharaj says. So what should we do? We should have compassion. Only when we are having compassion can this loving our neighbors more than ourselves really happen. This is how we can surrender to Krishna as well. This is how we can surrender to Krishna and say that we are willing for you to make us an instrument in your hand. Compassion, we speak about compassion, but then one Maharaj was saying that, compassion means come, that means less passion. Come is like, he said, the Hindi word come means less, right? Less passion. We are not capable of compassion. We are just capable of making our passion less. That's the way he said. I never understood it. It was long back and I just laughed at it. But today I understand compassion is not so easy. Compassion is only a great soul can really feel that deep compassion. When somebody is suffering, they really feel their suffering. When somebody is happy, they're genuinely happy for them. This is a symptom of paradukha dukhi. This only a real, elevated, pure-hearted soul can feel. But then again, we need to know what's compassion. And unless we can feel compassion, we will never be eligible to go back to Godhead. This is the words of His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Maharaj. We should feel compassion. We should feel selflessness. Unless these qualities genuinely come, then there is no proper surrender, without which we do not get eligibility to go back. It's nice. The more we are open, then more spiritual boons or blessings can be bestowed upon us by elevated souls. They're watching us. This entire this earth, right? Everything is aligned towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement currently in this world at this time, and even all the demigods are like aligned to to fulfill His will. Right? So when we are becoming instruments in the hands of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give compassion and try to, preach the message that, Garnatai came to give to the entire world. When we are doing that, even demigods are, arranging things in our life. And everything is working. Everything will be changed. The environment itself will be changed and altered. Krishna will make that happen. So this is how we can do it. And then, this is how it will happen. But then how? When we are changing our will, when we are open to such kind of, to being an instrument in their hand, we should be doing that. That's how we can enter this anti-material realm, Maharaj says. And again, truly feeling for others. It's not just about bookish knowledge. It's just not about me reading. To really feel for the other person, to feel how they feel. This comes when we are genuinely associating with advanced devotees. When we see them emulating these qualities, it naturally comes onto us. It just gets rubbed onto us, right? Again, we can feel a lot of compassion when we feel gratitude. When we have gratitude for what what Krishna has given to us, then only we can feel more compassion towards others who don't have who don't have this privilege of performing devotional service, who don't have the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, who don't have the shelter. Without Krishna, just imagine how lost we would be in this world, whatever age you are at this time. Just look back at, the, whatever, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you've been in this Krishna consciousness. Just before that, how much problems were there? And then last 12, whatever, 10, 20, 30 years, in Krishna consciousness, you might have got problems. It's not like problems stop, but then the way we respond to it has changed. Why? Because we have a shelter. So that has changed, right? So when we feel so much of gratitude for what we have achieved, or for what we have got, then definitely compassion can arise in our heart. This is the way to do it. And depth of compassion indicates our advancement. Again, this is like so deep, right? This is Bhaktitirtha Maharaj's words. When a person has got so much of compassion for the other suffering person, that shows he's very, very advanced. We can see in Vasudeva Datta's some story in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita, of how he says, let all the sins of all these people, conditioned souls, come to me and let me suffer in the hell perpetually, but just let them go, let them come back to you. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, you have just purchased me, you can just take me to any marketplace and sell me. I'm completely yours. That's the heart of the Lord. That's the heart of Chaitanya Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So, and then the last point, probably, what's the time? It is going a little slow, I guess. But this maybe I'd like to end. Selfishness keeps us imprisoned. So the more we are selfish, the more we are imprisoned, and then we do not get access to break free from this material realm. The more we are selfless, right? the more we are able to think for the others, when we are up for service, when we are ready to sacrifice. Without sacrifice, there is nothing which we can achieve. Even Bhagavad Gita says, sacrifice, charity, austerity, this should never be given up. Even a pure soul, even a pure devotee, sorry, even a pure devotee also, he gets they get cleansed by performing acts of sacrifice, austerity, and charity. So unless there is some kind of sacrifice which is present, selflessness cannot come about, right? With selflessness, there is so much of opportunity to serve, and this pleases Krishna. So this is a way to surrender to his will, to make his his mission possible. Like Krishna says, right? Those who preach the message of this the Gita to others, to other devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. So in his own words, his whole idea of Krishna, what Krishna is trying to present is, when we are trying to be instruments in the hand by doing some sacrifice and being really selfless, thinking about the Lord's plan, trying to please him, that pleases him, and that is surrender. And with this, I'd like to end. Any questions, thoughts? We can address it now. Again, this book, Surrender, the Key to Eternal Life. It's really, really, really beautiful. I hope you can see it. Bhaktivedanta Maharaj's book. Beautiful, beautiful book. I just touched around like 3 chapters. It has got around like 6 of them. Yeah, no, 7 chapters at present. It's really beautiful. If you get time, please do read it. I was basically... Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just planning to, speak from those 6 limbs, but then suddenly I found this book, and then I'd read it long back. I just thought, this is very beautiful. Let me do this book for devotees today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, very nice. So you will do a part 2?
You want me to do the part
chapter?
or the last?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. Maybe I'll do the last
on Thursday. On Thursday.
This Thursday.
Is that okay?
Thursday, if we don't have any speaker this coming Thursday. If we don't have, then
No,
maybe
yeah, I'm just setting the schedule for May. Mataji is reviewing it also. So Nitya Kishori Mataji will speak tomorrow night on stages of envy, but your part 2 can be on Thursday, and then
sure, we'll discuss it.
Yeah, so I was really appreciating how you were explaining, how Maharaj, you shared how Maharaj is saying with envy, when we see others doing nice service, how we should acknowledge it and not be jealous. And the Lord gives us instructions in different ways, so we need to become humble, and we need, if we're not open, we get this tough love, and so we can't be stubborn. That was really nice how you explained that.
Yeah, I think it's his writings. I told you, right? This is Maharaj's realization, which came from his deep crying out and calling for mercy in the forests of Gitanagri. These writings are really very, very, very empowering. We read from the Shastras, it's nice. This is a pure devotee who's just lived his life like that, and then he's followed the Shastras, and then he's telling it us, he's telling in layman's term to us what is envy, right? We read, we've seen discussed some other examples. I've spoken about this one in one of my previous classes also, but then look at the way we're looking at envy from Maharaj's perspective. So beautiful, right? What it really means day to day interaction, how we can assess our advancement. Yeah, Maharaj, one more question is there, which is so beautiful. He says, like, how do we understand that we are advancing? Somebody has asked. Okay, and then Maharaj says, when there is no envy as well as no false ego, then we can understand that we are advancing. As long as envy is present, we can understand that there's we're not progressing much. So it's a very, very important thing to consider. Because amongst lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion, it is envy. That's the only thing which cannot be used in the Lord's service. And everything else can be used except this envy. That's the reason why when a person has envy, we do not get entrance into the Vaikuntha Loka or the Golokas. So it blocks
Yeah.
our entrance.
So
Very
nice. We should buy that book. Yeah.
Maybe we're having
So
no treat, you can come and take it.
It's available on Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah.
All right then. I think with this we'd like to end, right? No more questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Do you have any comments for Taruni Radha?
Yeah, any feedback, and maybe you can share what you liked about the class, something that inspired you.
I think it's too late for them. People are like, I think it's, yeah, what time? It's 9:30.
Thank you so much, Taruni Radha, for doing the study and sharing with us and explaining your conviction. So as always, it's not the intellectual part, but it's the way your feelings and your conviction that touches. So thank you so much. And we also have some comments on the Shweta Lakwani saying, thank you, Mataji, for explaining it so humbly, really inspired. Yeah, that's true. There was a humility in your presentation that was also very genuine, very genuine presentation. And Preeti Pankajarada is saying, thank you so much for the nice lecture. Just after listening to the class, I came to know how much I need to work. Yeah, me too. That's true. Yeah, it's kind of like I felt this class was like really complimentary or really was helping the Anartha Nivriti part, it really kind of helps us to do that surgery that we need to perform on our false egos. Yeah.
Somebody say like, I don't know what is surrender. I don't know what is surrender. I had two people say. Then I thought, okay, this will be a nice thing to like, research and come across. And whatever you're feeling, it's just because it's the association of his book, reading his book the whole day. I'm just,
One thing I also felt with Maharaj's writings and also the way you unpacked it, there's an element of compassion. Like, for example, I feel like there's also self-envy, right? There is that part. So this part, like, I feel compassionate towards myself that I have these struggles and I need to work on them. And I'm able to kind of see myself separately from those anarthas. Like to see myself as that servant who just wants to be a servant and to see all these as something separate from me, not identified as me. So I felt that in the presentation today as well.
Yes, whatever you said is so powerful, so powerful, because we are not those coverings. Remember that. We are that pure soul. We usually make that difference. What you say? We do not make the distinction because of which we suffer a lot. So you've got that point very well. It's true. These are just the coverings. We should not identify with them and then make get into this shame, guilt, self-pity.
Yeah.
We should not do that. These are just coverings. It's just like taking something which is very pure and dipping it into something dirty and saying, now, hey, this is what it is. It's not that. Just go wash the dirt off. And then all the dirt, we are, we belong to Krishna. You say that, right? We are precious child of Krishna. That's what we are. It's just that we are now need to do that hard work of getting out of the covering. We try with our determination, begging for Krishna's mercy.
So true. Like, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. He says that, there's a dust sitting on your mirror. He doesn't say you are the dust. So whenever I'm like I think this Anartha Nivriti meetings is also helping me to not identify myself with these anarthas, but to actually see them as the dust covering. There's nothing to be ashamed, but to be compassionate and to clean it. Just clean it. That's it. Just clean it up. Yeah, powerful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is so beautiful point. Thank you so much for empowering us and making us read and research and come and giving us this platform. Really, really grateful to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Taruni, Radha. Look forward for the session 2. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.